That concludes our presentation.
Wow, thank you so much. It's evident how much you've learned and enjoyed what you've done, and now you're missionaries about Long Beach City College and what can be achieved here. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for participating in the program, and it's a great presentation. Okay, moving on. Agenda item 4.1, Student Success, the awarding of transfer degrees. You may recall that we started an ongoing agenda item about student success earlier this year in September because it is our salient board goal. It is something that we believe in and care about, and at each meeting we are talking about student success, what we're doing, what we're not doing. We're developing our ability to answer good questions about this topic, and it's not just about persistence and graduation. It's about a lot of complicated things. And so with that, we have our presentation.
Thank you, Board President Otto. I will let Dr. Long introduce this. Just before she does, I just, again, want to thank all the faculty and the staff for doing tremendous work to get us to this point, particularly our folks on the curriculum side. You know, this has been something that we have been striving for many, many years. We were there in support of the legislation when it was introduced. We were there when Governor Schwarzenegger signed the bill. And we really feel strongly that continuing to build navigable pathways to a degree is the way to go. So I'm proud of the work that we've done here at Long Beach. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Long.
Thank you, President Oakley. It's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight our chair of the curriculum committee and full-time counselor, Kenna Hillman, and our Dean of Academic Services, Michelle Grimes-Hillman, who will do the presentation for you on associate degrees for transfer.
Members of the board, President Oakley, and members of administration, faculty, and community. We are going to be presenting to you how the associate degree for transfer is promoting success for the students at Long Beach City College. So as President Oakley alluded to, there was legislation back in 2010 that asked for collaboration between the CSU campuses and the community college campuses to come together and develop streamlined pathways for students to reach their educational goals of transfer. Faculty from across the state came together to discuss how they would align their curriculum in this effort. The outcome is the development of TMCs, or transfer model curricula. There are external agencies that are also involved in the process. The Chancellor's Office reviews and approves the TMCs, and they post the templates to their website once they are approved. Community colleges that have terminal degrees in those posted TMCs have 18 months to develop their associate degree for transfer. It sounds like a long time, but given curriculum processes, 18 months is really not much. So I really would like to commend the faculty at Long Beach City College, because they have very much enthusiasm in developing these ADTs for our students. They are really promoting student success, and their dedication has culminated in us developing more than the original ADT obligation. Lastly, ADTs allow students to obtain degrees from both institutional systems with a maximum of 60 lower division units that are transferable. Is it on now? Okay. And then once the students transfer, the CSUs have guaranteed that they will only be requiring 60 units of upper division. So it allows students to reach their baccalaureate degree with 120 units. Thank you. So here we have advantages for the students. There are many, but I really want to highlight three. The first one is that students who have an ADT are guaranteed admission to the CSU system. The second one is the portability of coursework. And what that means is that students can take courses at multiple community colleges as long as they're following the ADT and the major. And those courses will work for any of the community colleges for when they transfer and to get their degree in for when they transfer. And then lastly, the one I want to highlight is the increased degree completion. And Michelle will be explaining this in greater detail.
So there's the only thing I like better than curriculum, and that's talking about data about curriculum, which makes me kind of a curriculum wonk, so bear with me. I do want to point out that in the board docs, you received an ADT brief, and if you have not already read it and committed it to memory, I would ask you to do so. There's some really great information within that document, much more detail than we can provide you in a presentation tonight. I also want to thank the institutional effectiveness team under Eva Bagg. Without them, we would be lost with our data, and they really helped with us prepare this information tonight. What you see in these bars is you can see over a span of 2 years that we have really jumped in our awards. And it isn't just the ADTs, but also in our awards and certificates and in degrees. So we're really marching on. So degree completion as an agenda is being really institutionalized here at LBCC. Now, as you can see, as the bars go up, all the degrees are increasing. But if you may notice that some of the red bar, that's the local associate degree, is a little fluctuation there. But I can tell you that when you look across the actual numbers of individual degrees, that the Associate of Science degree is really, really strong and stable. We have an expectation that as we add more and more associate degrees for transfer, that these numbers are going to also continue to jump. The students have caught on to this, so they're really excited about marching in and selecting this as a goal. So let's take a look at some data with regards to ADT completion and transfer by the numbers. So of the 941 students who transferred to a CSU, regardless of whether they earned a degree or not, more than half went to Cal State Long Beach. And then you had another, almost a quarter going to CSU Dominguez Hills. That's the top 2 feeder institutions, whether you receive a degree, an associate degree or not. That's where the students go. Of the 463 degrees awarded last year, we had the top awards were in business administration and in almost a quarter in communication studies. And it's important to note, and it was in a previous slide, that the students who are actually earning the ADT are doing it with less units or fewer units on average. So that's a really good thing for many, many reasons. You know, one of the things that we want to point out when you look at these numbers is you want to recognize that transfer-bound students are much more likely to earn an ADT before they transfer than transferring without a degree at all. And of course, that wasn't the case previously. It's actually one of the intended purposes of the degrees. And it's kind of interesting when you look at these numbers and you think across the 113 community colleges in the state of California that over 20,000 degrees were awarded last year. That's pretty impressive. So Long Beach has a lot to be proud of. Just like the numbers up there, more than almost about half of the students that get the ADT are actually going to Long Beach. This is actually really important as we work with the Long Beach College Promise Pathways. You know, the groups that are working on those pathways, for example, the liberal arts group is very excited about the history ADT and plans to include the ADT as part of the pathway work, as well as the business pathway is very excited about the business administration pathway. So another thing I can tell you that I think is really interesting, when you look at this cohort that earns ADTs, and it would be the 12-13 cohort that I'm referring to, somewhere between a third and a half, depending on their major, earn a baccalaureate degree within 2 years after transferring. So they're not going over and having to repeat courses. They're getting in, they're getting out, they're getting jobs, they're going on. So that's really exciting news for all of our students.
As of fall 2015, Long Beach City College has 19 ADTs that we're awarding to students. As you can see, we've exceeded the original obligation, which was 7. So when I say that faculty are enthusiastic, this really shows that they are. They've done a lot of hard work to create these pathways for our students. And they're very diligent in making opportunities for them to reach their educational goals and transferring to the university. So our ADTs range from anthropology all the way to studio arts. This slide is showing you the ADTs that are going to be coming forward this next year, but we actually have an update. Since we created the PowerPoint, as of yesterday, exactly. Administration of Justice, we just received word from the Chancellor's Office that that ADT was approved. So the other 5, I know, congratulations to them. The other 5 will be forthcoming, and we are almost there with all of these. I'm working diligently also with the faculty to get these completed. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to share this with you.
Questions from the board? Trustee Archuleta.
Yes, I just, was looking at the other document.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the other document that you referenced, and I was looking at the data under Exhibit 2, and I saw the gap there between students under 19 and then the next category, which is 19 through 20. It's, I think ADT says 61% of the students 19 and under, right, have completed an ADT. And then we go to the next level, which is 19 to 20, and it's 13%. So I'm wondering what the
age differentiation between ADT completers and our traditional degree completers, I think is a reflection upon ADT completers are younger, newer students who have just come to Long Beach City College, whereas our traditional degree completers include students that span age groups. It's all that's representing. The ADT completers are just a bit younger.
So, can we assume that in this group, we are looking at perhaps those students that are part of the College Promise? Yes? Is that why? Because they're, coming in already prepared, they're doing concurrent enrollment? I mean, because it just seems amazing to me that they're so young. I mean, 19 years of age and they're already, so I'm just wondering if that's part of it, and if it is, are we capturing that data to ensure that, these are College Promise or, academic pathway students?
If I can comment very quickly. So the short answer to your question is yes. The longer answer is with the ADTs, really the goal has been to get high school counselors and high school students very much aware of the associate degree for transfer so that they can declare a major as soon as they come to Long Beach City College. So there's been a great effort throughout the state to ensure that high school counselors are aware of the associate degree for transfers. And as they're getting that information, they're obviously seeing that as a benefit and seeing that as a clear pathway to transfer. Certainly, if I had a son or daughter going into community college, that'd be the first place I'd look as a major. The other issue is because of the Long Beach College Promise, we have additional communication that's going on, and as was mentioned, we are creating additional pathways along the way, in addition to the ADTs, to the transfer model curriculum that has already been developed. So there's a lot of work going on, and I think as we continue to share data between us and the CSU, we will be able to capture more and more information about which students are succeeding, why they're succeeding, and is the ADT making a big difference.
Yes, the ADT. Okay. Well, thank you.
Can I also add that I think that with respect to those numbers, if you wanted us to delve deeper into those students and who they are, we could absolutely do that for you, because all you're seeing right now is ages. And I would also defer to Kenna, who is a counselor, that to say that I would guess that one of the things that the counselors are doing with respect to ed plans is really counseling students to, if they want to transfer to a CSU, to choose one of our transfer degrees, since we actually just got approval of one more this week, so we have 20 ADTs now on the books. So I think Kenna could confirm that.
Okay, and just one last question, and this is under exhibit number 3. And I'm looking at the units completed, units attempted, and then units completed. And so I assume here that, I know that under the ADT, we're talking about students are still completing over 100 units, when again, you mentioned that all they need is 60. And so I guess the question that what I would ask is that, is this due to the basic skills? Is that what it is, the 30 units of basic skills? And then I was looking at the actual units completed, which is 89, so I would assume that if we subtract the 30, we're talking about 50-something units, so it's, I guess that's my question, is why is the high unit? I mean, if you have the data showing that these students are transferring, then why the, the over 100 units completed?
So basic skills or foundational skills, students do come to us with the need of increasing their knowledge.
Right.
Fortunately, we, in the past years, have used alternate measures, and we've looked at their high school courses and have been able to use that as an indicator of their ability and their success. So in actuality, the number of units has gone down because of that process. But they do come to us needing the foundational skills. And I know that Michelle would like to add to this as well.
So the only other thing besides the basic skills classes is that remember that prior to the Student Success Act, that students were not limited. So you do have some of these students still going through the pathway. You also have students who have done an exploration of multiple majors before landing on this one. I'm a parent of a community college student who's now in his 3rd major. And is rapidly reaching that 100-unit goal. So I can tell you that the basic skills and that exploration probably make up both of that. And I don't know if the institution effectiveness team has anything to add.
No, that's right on, Michelle. The only other thing I might add is that there are times when
Excuse me, could you come to the mic? Please, we got to make a record of this.
Hi, I'm Lauren Sasenko. I'm the Director of Institutional Research here at Long Beach City College, and I helped draft the brief that was distributed to the board that we're asking questions about. So that's why I'm here to field questions. So the only other, we don't really know all the reasons why. There are so many why students can have more than the 60 units, and they're all really good reasons. There are some times, though, when our students are trying to meet some of the requirements on the ADT, and just depending upon the semester and what courses are offered to meet that requirement, it may be an extra unit or two for the required course. So again, there are a lot of reasons why students can exceed the 60-unit mark, and I think that what Michelle explained, the exploration, is probably one of the key reasons, and basic skills.
Okay. Thank you so much, and just amazing work that you're doing, so I commend you on this great work. It's outstanding, so thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Trustee Zia?
Hi, thank you. It was great. Just a few questions. I noticed in the statistics that it appears that, sorry, Lauren, you just sat, it could be a question for you, that our male demographic is lagging quite a bit seriously in getting the ADTs. I just want to know, are we doing anything about it? What are our efforts to address that?
So as Lauren makes her way back here to answer that with regards to the research, I will say that those numbers are reflective across the state. We find that males tend to not earn as many awards as females. That just tends to be a trend that we've seen for the last several years. I think that's all you want to say? Oh, okay.
Okay.
That one, thank you.
But to go beyond that answer, to answer your question specifically, yes, this is an area, anywhere where we see a gap in achievement, we are spending time looking at that gap. This is a national gap. It's no surprise that nationally this is a trend, and we are paying attention to it. We're working with Long Beach Unified. Long Beach Unified, not too long ago, launched their Male Academy. So we're looking for ways to encourage our male students to not only complete a degree, but complete it in a shorter amount of time.
Okay, and what are some of those efforts that we're doing?
Well, the efforts are specifically doing research through our equity program. So anything from looking at the data to see which classes they're taking, not taking, which classes they're failing, getting that information to faculty in the departments to help them better understand what's going on with their students. So most of the work right now is happening in the classroom, in departments, with institutional research, giving them the data so that they can begin to try to resolve those questions in the classroom, as well as look at it holistically through the data, through the research that's done nationally, and learn more about what's going on with males of color. So we're participating in a lot of professional development activities to help us better understand what the research is that's happening throughout the country.
Okay.
Also, although I'm not the chair or co-chair of the Equity Committee, there are several proposals that faculty and staff members have submitted and have been approved. And I was on the reading of those proposals group. I know Dr. Peterson could definitely speak to that, and Dr. Long. But there were several proposals that were addressing this issue.
Okay, great. That's good to know. And then I just had a few minor questions. On your slide, page 5, the statistics or the number that you're citing here, 941 students who transferred to a CSU, is that a combination of ADs and ADTs, and out of how many total? So 941 out of how many?
If I'm not mistaken, that number represents both groups, and it may also represent those that transferred without a degree, correct, Eva? So because not everybody who, there are not ADTs in every major, and some majors, and we don't have a local degree necessarily to account for those majors, things like engineering and computer science. So those students would be counted in this number, but they don't necessarily earn a degree before they transfer. But they're still transferring to those two CSUs as top transfers.
So this data isn't disaggregated. It's pretty much an aggregate of
Correct.
both. And 941 out of how many students?
And I don't
Was the
have that
population-
number.
Well,
Oh, wait, maybe I
yeah.
did.
Is that the 1,110 in the previous chart? Is that what?
No, the previous chart shows the amount of associate degrees awarded. That's
Right.
different than the number of students who transferred. The number of students who transferred, that number was given to the board when we did the transfer presentation, and I don't think that this group would have that number because we're just focused on the associate's degree for transfer. But annually, we give the board a report on the total number of transfers. So the number you see there is the total number of transfers to the CSU. The other numbers are the number of associate degrees for transfer. That number is part of the overall 900 and some odd number that you see there.
Okay, and do we have the numbers that have been awarded ADTs that transfer to Cal State Long Beach and Cal State Dominguez Hills? Because this is the aggregate data. or my?
And I only have the percentages, I don't have the actual numbers. I have the percentages going to Long Beach are 55, overall 34% going to Long Beach. That's overall. And I think the way I reported it is I talked about maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of those students are going to Long Beach. So these are the ADTs, that's overall. And then we don't have the Dominguez Hills data in front of us. We could possibly pull that. But going to all the other CSUs, it's for the overall, it's about 34% are going to other institutions outside of Cal State Long Beach. So we're going all over the place with the students. The students are going all over the place, but we're still feeding them. The largest numbers are going to Long Beach and Dominguez Hills. And we can get you those actual numbers, but I only have those percentages with me tonight.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. And then the last, I believe it's the last slide, slide 7. So how do we determine which programs are going to be coming? I know we have these 6 ADTs coming soon. You may have already spoken to this. I may have missed it. How do we plan for more programs?
The Chancellor's Office posts the templates on their website once they've been vetted and approved by the Chancellor Office. So faculty across the state have access to that information. If a community college has a terminal or local degree in that particular major, there is the obligation that we create the degree. But some community colleges, and we are one of them, we have gone beyond that obligation, and we've created ADTs that we know are going to be coming or we're interested in developing. So, for example, on slide 7, the elementary teacher ed program, we actually started that in advance of when the Chancellor's Office posted it on the template on their website. So it's staying abreast of the information that's being discussed across the state, and then also looking at the Chancellor's website to see what's posted.
So are we doing this in collaboration with the Cal State and forming some sort of a determination of what would be more conducive for our district as far as the major goes? We're offering the ADTs. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's statewide. So in the very beginning, they looked at the top degrees awarded, and they started with those. And then incrementally, they've attacked it in that manner.
And when Kenna says they, she means the state academic senate.
I see. Okay.
And
great.
Michelle, actually, before she became the dean here, was very much involved in that. So I'm sure she would love to address some of your question too.
So how is a due ADT decided? Very often, again, when we first started this project, the CSUs had to be nudged along, and they were coming together to talk to the California Community College faculty about individual courses through what's called the CID project. So there was that collaboration already existed. And then when the legislation came along, it's like, well, let's use that course numbering project to build these transfer degrees. And after the first 25 were done, they were so successful that more and more faculty got excited. And in fact, faculty on both sides, both in CSU and community college, will say, hey, here's another up-and-coming major. Like, we expect at some point there's it's health sciences. It's health sciences is an ADT. It's not been published yet, but we know it's being vetted. Social justice is another one that's coming. So we know the faculty actually get together and vet these courses and degrees before they ever get to the Chancellor's Office. So they're even going beyond the legislation as well. And if you are really excited to see what's up and coming, we'd be happy to provide you with the website. So you can see all those up and coming degrees that faculty are working on across the state.
President Otto, I have a question. Are you done? Sorry.
No, I'm not. I'd be interested in getting that website and being up to date on what is being considered. So thank you. That's all I have.
Trustee Baxter.
Yes, my question has to do with number 7, because I assumed when you said coming soon that these 6 were at the Chancellor's Office waiting for approval. Are you saying that's not the case?
Let me put my glasses on.
Yeah.
So a few of them are at the Chancellor's office, but some of them are not. For example, the film, TV, electronic media, right now, we have courses that we've submitted to CID, and courses on the ADT have to be CID approved.
Right, okay.
Before we can send them to the Chancellor's office. So when I was mentioning earlier that there were external agencies, CID is another one. So some of these have courses that are being vetted through CID, and once they are approved, then we can move them forward.
Okay, so in the case of theater arts,
Theater arts actually has already been approved locally. What happens at CID is that some of the courses are given a conditional approval, and we will get feedback from the reviewers. For example, much of our feedback is the textbook that's listed in the course outline of record is more than 5 years old, and we need to give an update for that.
okay,
Yeah, so.
thank you.